Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I am very excited for this update, this Pan Those Eyeshadows update. The creator of this project is Alexi. I always have her linked in the description box, although I have very much changed the project to suit the way that I like to pan and use my eyeshadows, but she was the original creator of the project, so definitely check out her channel. She has lots of panning content to watch. Even though she's not currently very active on her channel, a lot of her older videos, they're all still up. Today's tea of the day is an oolong, and this one is very different in my stash because it's from Vietnam. It's such a cool one, although it tastes very much just like any other oolong I've tried. Very flowery, that typical oolong taste that can't be beat. Oh, it's a very good flavorful one. This one is from a brand called Key to Tease, and I'm sad because I'm almost out of this. Very sad. Okay, let's get into this project. I am really proud of the progress that I have made on my eyeshadows. So in this project, I have merged two of my projects together, my project palette 30 uses, and also Pan Those Eyeshadows, and also I've kind of snuck in there and almost pan that palette. I do have a focus palette that I'm working on and Pan Those Eyeshadows. So let's start with the randomly generated eyeshadows. This first one is from Nomad Cosmetics. I'm gonna put up a picture of how it looked last time on the screen. So I do have a goal of either pan or 20 uses, and then I'll allow myself to roll the shadow out. This one became clear very, very quickly that I wasn't going to be able to hit pan in 20 uses. So I made a new goal of trying to at least remove the embossing on this shadow. Well, looking at it now, I obviously was not able to reach that goal. The embossing is still very clearly visible, and when I look at it, I can see that I actually did start to create the tiniest little dip in this shadow, but the embossing is still there. And I was not light-handed with this. I really loaded my brush up, really filled in my whole eyelid with this shade, and it still is barely showing any use. So this is just a very, very pigmented shadow. Oh, no, sorry, not pigmented, very hard pressed. It is pigmented, but I wouldn't call it a very pigmented shadow. It's just very, very hard pressed. So difficult to make progress in, but it was a really nice shade to work on for this time of year. It worked with a lot of the shades that I was working on. But since I did reach my 20 use goal, this one is rolling out. Did I even say what this was? From Nomad Cosmetics, it's the shade Henna from the Marrakesh collection. Secondly, I was working on a shadow from Sydney Grace. Again, I'll put up a picture of how it looked last time. This is the shade Dream Maker, and this is in the shimmer formula, so it's not the uber super shiny pressed pigment formula, but I actually really liked this shade. It went so well with so many of my looks just to brighten up the inner portion of my eye. So it's just a light shimmery pink, and looking at it now, you can see that I did make a little bit of a dip in there, but again, it's pretty hard pressed. Sydney Grace really packs as much shadow as possible in there. They're hard pressed shadows. And so while I'm happy to see the usage on it, there was no way I was gonna be able to hit pan in 20 uses, but I did reach the 20 use goal. So I'm going to be rolling this one out. I very much enjoyed working on that. The third shade I was working on came from my Master Palette by Mario. This is my Focus palette. I was working on the shade Marina. I'll put up a picture of how it looked last time. Marina is a shade that is very easy for me to use all over my lid, and it was already very much used in this palette. It had a very good dip going, and I knew I would hit pan pretty soon, which I did. So I do have pan in this shade, and it only took 7 uses. I did use it one more time to make the pan a little bit more visible, and if I had used it a couple more times, the pan would be a lot bigger. Usually when I use this shadow, I just use my finger, so the dip was a really wide one. So I'm really happy actually with the amount of use I have on that shade. And this shade, I like it enough. Oh, this is the color of it, by the way. I love this shade enough that that is one of the shadows that I would be willing to eventually target to use up. I don't feel that way about all my shadows. I feel like I do tend to rotate through them and not really want to finish shadows off, but this one I like so much that in the future I could make that a goal. So that is my second pan in this palette. I'm really happy about that. And I actually have already started working on another shade in this palette. Last time I randomly generated which shade, but since I hit pan on that one so quickly, I just picked one to start working on, and I chose this shade here called Bronx. This is probably one of the least used shades in this palette, probably that shade and Claudia, this navy blue. Both of those shades actually I kind of want to work on this time of year. So I chose Bronx. I actually am wearing Bronx on my eye today along with various other shadows I'll be mentioning shortly. Bronx is a beautiful, what I would call dirty green color, kind of on the swampy edge of green, but it goes along so well with the types of tones that I want to wear this time of year, and I'm really excited to get more use on it. And I do think that is going to be my focus shade moving forward to hit pan on. I'm gonna keep working on Bronx. So far I've only used it twice in this project, and I do foresee it taking a whole lot more uses than Marina, just because Marina had such a substantial dip in it already. I'm gonna come back around to talking about what I'm gonna do with Pan those eyeshadows for this next month. Let's go to my project 30 uses. So the palette that I've been focusing on for that is my Colourpop Wild Nothing palette. I have been loving using this palette. So far I'm only at 10 uses, and I really wanted to reach at least 15 to make it halfway there. I would love next month people to roll in something more cool toned for the time of year. We'll see if I can reach that goal. 20 uses in a month. It can be done, but that just means I'll have to really make sure that I use it in almost all of my eye looks that I do. The shade Coastline is starting to show progress, a tiny little bit of a dip forming. That's the shade that I often use in my inner corner. It is the one I'm using today. I've also been using the mattes just in random other looks I've been using with other palettes. They're very handy because they're not that pigmented. Every time I use this palette, I'm like, this is like watercoloring, where you can get the color you want, but it's just a very light wash of color. I kind of feel like that had to have been the intent with this palette, because my other Colourpop palettes aren't that way. And I, for one, do appreciate that, having some more buildable mattes to work with. But I also have been using the shade Seashells. That was hard to say. And I am wearing this on my lid today. Pairing that with Bronx from the Mario palette actually makes this look a lot less silvery than it is when you just use it by itself. So I have been very much using that in conjunction with Bronx. But again, I'm gonna try really hard to reach my 30 use goal on this palette by next month. So usually at this point, I would be rolling in some more shadows since I hit my goal. However, we're nearing the end of the year here, and I did just purchase a whole bunch of eyeshadows. If you guys saw my eyeshadow palette haul, you know I have a lot to be testing. Also, I'm trying to narrow down my favorites for the year, so I'm going back and retrying favorites from earlier in the year, see how I feel about them. So I think I'm going to forego rolling in randomized eyeshadows for the moment. Don't worry, I will get back to doing that in this project, but here I just have a lot of things that I would like to test out and try. So for the sake of my wanting to actually enjoy using my shadows and not feeling super pressured, I'm not gonna roll in those shadows this time. However, I am still gonna be working on my goal for this palette, and I am going to be trying to hit pan on Bronx in the Mario palette. So these are all the shades that we're rolling out. This is the only particular shade right now that is staying in. I'm sorry if that's really disappointing to some of you, but I hope you understand my need to try and use my new stuff. If this entire video you have been hearing blustery winds, like we're still in some winter weather here. It's been very fun and cozy snuggling in here at home. Currently the ice chunks have stopped falling from the sky, but it's very, very windy here on the hill where I live. Thank you guys so much for watching this update. I hope to have progress to share with you in the month of December. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this project. I really, really appreciate it, guys. I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.